Good morning, everyone. I hope you are staying warm wherever you are and also staying safe today. Um, on behalf of the Kentucky Arts Council board and staff, I want to welcome you to our latest edition of the Creative Industry Summit Series. This series today is on foodways, foraging, and folk healing in Kentucky. And before we get started, I would like to provide a land acknowledgement. A land acknowledgement is a formal statement that recognizes the unique and enduring relationship that exists between Indigenous peoples and their traditional territories. Today, we stand on ground occupied by ancient peoples whose history has been lost, but whose legacy remains. The evidence of these ancient people can be seen all over Kentucky through the mounds and artifacts left behind. Today, over 170 American Indian tribes are represented by their members living and working in the Commonwealth. Let us honor those who were here and those who are here now and build on the legacy of stewardship of the land that they left for us unto the seventh generation. That being said, I will turn it over to my cohort, Mark Brown, for today's session. Mark?
Thank you very much, Chris. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Creative Industry Summit Series. Today's topic is foodways, foraging, and folk healing. My name is Mark Brown, the Folk and Traditional Arts Director for the Kentucky Arts Council. I manage a grant program called the Folk Traditional Arts Apprenticeship, which is an investment in living cultural traditions throughout the Commonwealth. They can be old and new traditions, urban and rural, and the purpose is to support art in everyday life that's essential to cultural identity of Kentuckians. The grant supports a mentor and an apprentice working together over a course of a year in order to train the apprentice and get them closer to mentor status and to strengthen the tradition that they're both part of. And oftentimes we present mentors on our online presentations like this. And today we thought it would be great to hear from the apprentice perspectives. And so that's why I'm grateful to be joined today by two of our apprentices for this current fiscal year. They're right in the middle of their apprenticeships. And we have Linelle Rivera Rodriguez from Fayette County and Yani Vozos from Jefferson County. And they both have connections to other counties in Kentucky. We'll get into talking about all that. But I just want to say first, the apprenticeship grant is made possible through support by the National Endowment for the Arts. And specifically in the Appalachian region, South Arts in These Mountains program has been important supporter of apprenticeships happening in that region of our state. So if you all are ready, let's go ahead and start the conversation, Linelle and Yani. First, if you could introduce yourselves, just tell us about yourselves and how you got interested in foodways, foraging, and healing traditions.
I'll go first.
Yes.
I'm Linelle Rivera Rodriguez. Born and raised in Puerto Rico. I left the island when I was 27 to move to Kentucky. My husband is from here, and we decided when COVID hit, it was easier to transition to a place that we knew, and that was Kentucky. When I was in Puerto Rico, I did a bachelor in biology and a master's in environmental science. Plants were always important in my life. It was really common, and I realized that after I came here, that was not common to have fruits and vegetables year-round in your household. But growing up, my grandma always had fruits trees and outside avocados, oranges. She had some herbs too that she would use mostly for food, but she will also make guarapos or which is a Spanish word for juice. So before the juicers, it was guarapos, and most of them were just for because it was a hot place, but it also cure people because everything on that juice was like 100% organic. It was all for the health. When I moved to Kentucky, it was really hard for me to find a community of especially Latinos But I was so thankful to meet Miranda Brown thanks to working in FLACA, which is also a Latino foundation nonprofit. She introduced me to Casa la Cultura, and then I met more people there, and I realized that there was a need and people wanted to be part of a group, and it's more for the arts and traditions and dancing. But then thanks to Miranda, she invited me to her herb circle here in Lexington. And that's when I started around 2022 to be more involved working with plants. And I currently work at Kentucky State University as a research and extension associate in organic agriculture. I've met so many farmers there. I did not study agriculture, I just knew a little bit back home through school. But I realized how important farming is in Kentucky for not being a place that you can grow technically things all year round. I mean, if you have a high tunnel, you could, but the amount of aid that farmers can receive in Kentucky has been really interesting and amazing. The extension in every county is pretty awesome. So yeah, I guess in the end of it all, now my goal in life will be to be a farmer and be able to help others, teach as much as I can, and maybe motivate other people to grow their own vegetables and herbs.
Thanks, Linelle. Yani?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Yani Vozos, and I'm originally from Eastern Kentucky, born in Lee County on the river there, and lived in Estill County for about 10 years, and then Madison County, Fayette County, and now Jefferson County. So I am Kentucky born and raised, and grew up with the land. You know, my father's Greek, so that's why I've got the funny name. Yanni means John in Greek. And my mom's from Kentucky, so we grew up in way back in the holler, and living close to the land, and always had an interest in connecting with, the plants that I always wanted to find the plants that could be eaten, because I was always hungry growing up. So going out looking for mint, going out looking for the wild greens and whatnot. And my parents would teach us, me and my sister, how to find all these edible plants. Um, and so I grew up, unbeknownst to me, kind of with this in my mind, with this whole foraging um, notion, with this natural medicine notion in my mind, just never kind of seeking it out, consciously, just grew up around it. My father being Greek, he would kind of talk about, oh, you have an earache. Well, we're going to put some olive oil in your ear. That's going to help your earache. Or, oh, you've got a stomach ache or you're sleepy. Oh, we'll make you some chamomile tea, And so these things I just kind of grew up around. And then when I became an adult, I went to the University of Pittsburgh, got a degree in urban studies. And after I graduated, I moved to Honduras in Central America and became a Peace Corps volunteer there. And, as an adult, anywhere I went, I was very interested in learning about foraging and kind of folk healing practices wherever I was. And so then when I was in Honduras, I found out that, oh, té de manzanilla, that's chamomile tea in Honduras. And they're like, oh, if you have a stomach ache, you drink té de manzanilla. And I'm like, oh, well, that's similar to what my dad used to say. And so like figured out like there's these universal plants that exist in many different parts of the world that all, many traditions, many people use for the same reasons. And so this just kind of sparked my interest in lifelong learning. And now, now that I'm coming up almost on 50 years of age, I've been studying foraging, I've been studying folk medicine and experimenting with making my own medicines over the years. And so really excited to be doing this apprenticeship with Andrew Bentley and sharing this knowledge that I'm learning with everyone. So happy to be here.
Thank you for those introductions. And you both mentioned your mentors that you're working with this year. Linelle is working with Lorena Miller of Powell County, and Yani is studying with Andrew Bentley of Fayette County. Could you each tell us about your mentor? How did you meet them, and how did you all choose to work together?
Lorena Miller, she's a Colombian. She left Colombia when she was about 27, which ironically, somewhere around that age is when I left Puerto Rico. She went to Germany to continue her studies in philosophy. But then when she got to Germany, she realized that her degree wasn't like what she thought it was going to be, and she wanted to be more involved in the community. So she decided to change into media, and that led to her work with the immigrant population in Germany. She was part of public radio. She helped immigrants. They talked about politics, they talked about immigration, and she also led a feminist movement out there in Germany. She helped women find their role in society in Europe as an immigrant. And I thought that was really cool. She said she always had plants, even as she was in Germany. She had like plants in her balcony in pots. I talked to her yesterday and she told me a story that they did a lot of activities out there in the parks. And then one day she was walking and she saw that they were doing a contest to win plants. And then when she went, they're blindfolding people, and with the touch, they were supposed to guess which plant they had in their hands. And I can't remember if she told me, but she knew the plant right away, and people were really impressed. And then she got to take it home. So I feel like the same as me, back home, plants is so common that you don't even think about it. Like Yani is just a part of living. And I feel like it's not until you can't go out of your country that you realize, oh, I miss it all and I should have learned more. And then when she came back to Kentucky around 2006, she bought some land in Louisville and had a house and then grew everything she could outside. I think it was during COVID that she moved to her farm that she's currently having. She has 7 dogs, I believe, and a bunch of herbs and some cattle, some sheep. She's still having babies out there. She has chickens. So she knows a little bit about everything. We met, I believe, in 2023, thanks to Miranda. She invited me to like a cooking slash herb circle at the kitchen and food chain. And there she was. Miranda, Lorena was there, and among other herbalists that I got to meet that day. And then I just kept seeing her in other herb circles. So we became friends. And even before this apprenticeship, she has teaching me a lot. She's the reason that I have so many herbs right now in my house and in my garden. She taught me my first tincture with yarrow. That was really cool. And I got to use it and it worked. Like I didn't know about yarrow until she told me. Like she helped me cure my tick and scabs in my body. And I thought that was so amazing that no lotion would do that for me other than yarrow. She's part of a herb collective called Aflorar. It started in North Carolina. It's in Kentucky. It's even in Puerto Rico and South Carolina. They use art and healing to help people through herbs, and they started in 2020. Lorena is also part of a group called Taproot. Is a nursery where they grow organically grown medicine plants for the community here at Kentucky. Like I mentioned, Lorena has been a teacher before this apprenticeship. She has taught me so much, and she even came to my house once and pointed out all the things that I should do, and I followed her instructions and everything worked out. So now I have a bunch of herbs in front of my house and they're doing really good. And this past year they yield really good. And then I can't remember who thought about it first, but then we saw this apprenticeship and we were like, we should do it. And we were a little bit concerned because it's herbal, it's not like actual arts, but it was so exciting that we got it. And we've been working just before then, so it doesn't feel like work right now. It just feels like a connection and we just learn from each other every day.
She sounds amazing, Linelle.
Yeah, she is.
Thank you for sharing that. And Yani, could you tell us about Andrew Bentley?
Yes. So my mentor is Andrew Bentley, and he is originally also from Lee County, Kentucky. So we share that kind of geographical connection, though we didn't know each other growing up. We are about the same age. Um, and he has a degree in biology from the University of Kentucky. Um, he's really an incredible person. And he has a clinic here in Lexington. Um, has had that clinic for, I want to say, about 25 years. And so he sees about 1,000 patients a year um, in his herbal clinic. And so we met through my partner Carla Gover. They had children in a homeschool group together, and so their children kind of grew up together. And so I went to him for some type of, I think I was having some kind of lung issue, like a lung congestion or something like that. And he prescribed me this usnea and lemon balm um, tincture, which I won't go into it. Anyway, usnea is like a lichen that's common in Eastern Kentucky. Lemon balm is, grows really easily in your garden. But anyway, it was very effective in treating it. And because I had this interest in herbal healing and whatnot, I wanted to kind of get to know him better and, see what he was all about. And so discovered he was like an expert in all things, all wild plants and wild foraging. And, because of his background in biology, he basically knows all the names, he knows all the aspects, and he's studied for years and years. And he comes from a long line of healers, going back to Ireland, where his family came from. He was ancestors with the clan O'Mara in Ireland. And I found out through one of his stories that one of his great 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 grandfathers was Napoleon's personal physician, going way back, 1,000 years or so. And so I was like, wow, this guy's got a lot of knowledge. And so I saw this apprenticeship program and was thinking, wow, wouldn't it be great to have a year-long project with him and learn about all kinds of stuff. So, we started back last year, and it's just been awesome to kind of pick his brain, and then also for him to just tell all these stories. He knows about every plant, and especially local plants. And so it's really fun to I'm just constantly taking notes the whole time because it's just there's so much information trying to glean that. So it's been a really great process. And he also, like all of us, it sounds like after college he traveled abroad. He went to Kazakhstan in Central Asia and stayed there for a long time. Learned the language and then learned about healing practices there in that part of the world and found similarities as well. He even told me a story about where he was staying in his room and there was some guy with like a traditional instrument similar to the banjo, and he was playing this kind of banjo-like instrument and then kind of singing the country blues about trying to talk to girls and chasing horses and growing plants and stuff like that. And it was just like, that sounds familiar. Anyway, it just kind of goes to the universal aspect of all these things, music and foraging and uh, you know medicinal healing and whatnot. It's similar all over the world. So
Yeah, those are great examples of, and you all touched on how, you know, um, folk healing and traditions are pretty much a universal. Like there's so many variations, but there are also a lot of common threads. And you all also touched on the role of oral tradition and storytelling, which I think is an important component to any apprenticeship. Could you talk about that within your folk healing and foraging traditions, and maybe share an example of something that you learned face to face from your mentor that you couldn't have learned from a book or from a video?
Mm. Um, I think most of the, if you want to say it, study or creation of herbal medicine is through storytelling. Like the knowledge, all of it is in storytelling. But as same as Johnny, and whenever I meet Lorena, my fingers just like going hard and like it hurts, and I had to flip because she's saying so many things that seem so natural to her. But for me, it's like a book, like it's so much information. And I learned so much across this, uh, and the importance of herbal medicine that you need to, and it's also okay not to know it all, but just know a little something and just get better at it. I found it fascinating, that yeah, you can go ahead and read a book, but if you don't practice that and you don't hear it and like have that person with you helping you create that little tincture or whatever, even just starting seeds, it's just better through storytelling or to just talk. I guess the me saying that when Lorena came in and she's like, "Oh, you don't need those flowers. They're pretty, but it will be better if you grow rosemary there and then you grow lavender and I have a bunch of yarrow. You should put it there. It's a good spot." And I was thinking of putting a tree in the front so I can get shade in my house. She's like, "No, no, no. Just grow a bunch of herbs, all the ones that love the sun." And I feel like there's no way of me having that interaction anywhere else than she being next to me. So whatever she says, I'll do in my garden. Um, it can be hard at times to write everything, but I've learned to just the things that stand out to write them down and then get better at it. Um, and it's just so simple. Sometimes people think is really hard herbalism, but it can be so simple. Like I thought I needed all these gadgets, and she's like, "No, no, no, just dry them in your basement or put them next to the window. You don't need to heat up your oil. You can just leave it hidden for 2 or 3 weeks. It will be fine." So I feel like that friendship, it also makes everything so much better, and it makes this apprenticeship like go really well.
Great points. And Yanni, what are your thoughts on the
Yeah,
face-to-face learning?
I really love the whole oral tradition aspect of it. Just like Linelle was saying, these are like ancient traditions and knowledge that's been passed down. And obviously, with each generation, there's new knowledge that's found, and so it's kind of evolved and whatnot. But knowing where it comes from and knowing the lineage and whatnot is really great. And it's really amazing to learn about each and one of these plants. Every one of these plants is kind of its own universe and whatnot. Um, I would say, the things that I could learn, without, seeing a video, just from my mentor. Gosh, so many things. Things coming up here in a couple weeks. Valentine's Day, this is something I learned from my mentor. Valentine's Day this is the time of year where you harvest sassafras root. Some people like to make a tea out of it. It's a really delicious tea. And also you plant peas. You want to plant your peas on Valentine's Day. So, never heard that before. Something we went over last session, the poke plant, which is everybody I'm sure knows about it, or I'm sure everybody's seen it. It has some medicinal properties, but it's also kind of poisonous. You have to be careful with eating it or harvesting it and whatnot. Poke salad is a traditional dish here from Eastern Kentucky, and according to my mentor, it's like you have to pick the leaves at the earliest point, in the early spring, and then you'll boil the leaves, and you have to pour the water off at least 4 times. Because if you don't, you could get a bellyache. Poke's not something I don't think that's going to kill you, but it's just it could not be very appetizing if you get a bellyache. And then the other thing I didn't realize or didn't know was okra. The okra plant was native, indigenous to Africa, and it was brought by Africans to the French colonies. When they were enslaved people, and they hid um, seeds in their braids. And that's how it was introduced to the Americas. And, it's become certainly a, a part of Southern cuisine, especially down Louisiana and whatnot. And I love okra as well. So anyway, there's all these things. And my mentor also talks about, the mythology. He'll talk about some of the names of these plants, Asclepius and Hercules, and like he knows all the mythology and all these kind of things that I had no idea, so it's like this fountain of knowledge that I'm ready and trying to incorporate into my mind and my life too. So it's pretty cool. So it's really awesome, actually.
Yeah, that is awesome. And you'll have a kind of a long-term relationship with your mentors that goes far beyond, just the period of this apprenticeship, but you're kind of at the halfway point of your official apprenticeship now. You'll start in July and wrap it up in June. And I was wondering, what are your favorite things about your apprenticeship so far?
I have to say, learning, practicing, and seeing the results are, and again, we haven't seen each other as much as we wanted to, but it's been really nice, and I enjoy planning this whole year worth of things that I'm going to learn, and I am so excited that I'm going to learn them. And then getting to know Lorena more, like we have like very I don't want to say intense, but really magical stories from our childhood and her when she lived in Colombia, and then I'll tell her when I live in Puerto Rico. So it's like we have the same experience, just in different years. The fact that we got awarded this grant to do something that we loved, I feel like that is just a plus. But yeah, having also done 2 meetings in Lexington, we're starting a herb circle. It's mostly Latinos, but everybody is welcome. And just to get to hear all these ladies talk about their experiences and their ancestors. And a lot of them will be like, I don't know anything. And then we sit down, turns out they knew more than me, or like they didn't realize how much they knew. It was just so common to them that their grandmother will bring this herb and it will cure them. They thought it was just normal. But yeah, just having that moment right there when we trigger those people's mind to remember what was that experience for them has been really awesome. And we hope that we can do more of that and help people do their own remedies and learn it and then use it and just tell other people about herbalism and their experience with it so they will get involved too.
Very good. Yani, what are your favorite things so far about the apprenticeship?
Oh, wow. Lot of lot of favorite things. Uh, the one thing that I didn't know I was going to experience was because I've been studying, on my own for most of my life, is just wow, how much I still have to learn, and that's really awesome. Um, it's just I have so much that I still have to learn, and so that's for me is really exciting because I thought, oh, I'm getting really good at this, and I know a lot, but it just seems like I've got so much to learn still, and so that's exciting for me. I really love in the times that we've gone out into to do these different herb walks in the forest, in the meadow, by the river, by the stream, and do the plant identification. Like I love that. I'm a very earthy person. I love the earth. I love to plant things. Love to get my hands in the soil, and it just seems like I'm seeing these different areas that I've walked, 100 times. For example, my father has a farm out in Mercer County, and I've been, kind of stewarding that land with him for the past 25 years. And I go out there and I see the land in a whole new way. I see it in a brand new way. And, I feel like it's very spiritual too. It's like a spiritual experience, because I'll just go out, not with any intention other than just I want to go and see what's out here now with my new eyes, and these plants, they just come to me. They just appear. And so I just really love all of that. Uh, so yeah, I could go on, but that's really those are my favorite parts of it thus far.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And both of you, you talk about how it's part of your whole life kind of gets absorbed in this tradition, this traditional art form. So we're getting a couple of questions in our Q&A, and I appreciate the audience. If you have questions, go ahead and type them into the Q&A, and we'll do our best to get to those at the end of the interview here. And I wanted to ask about changes in tradition, how they change over time. Have you seen or witnessed any changes within the tradition as you've practiced it with your mentors? And maybe there's something unique about how the tradition is practiced in Kentucky that's different from elsewhere that you could talk about?
Um, I think over the years, in the past, like herbal medicine was everything for humanity because it was the only thing available. Then it came the modern medicine, and people stopped maybe caring or sharing about the herbal remedies. And I was one of them as a teen. Like I was like, oh, I'll just go to the doctor and forget about that tea or that other thing. And I saw curanderos and I remembered hearing about them. My uncle's godfather, like he had a lot of people to come in, and even after modern medicine, they will be there, but not as many. But I think COVID changed that. People were like in their house, forced to be there, and I feel like everything got awoken again, and people were not able to go out and get medicine. They were scared a lot, so maybe they called their grandma, like, what was it that you used when this was like that, or like their friends, and people stay in their household, so they decided to be in the garden more and grow more plants. I definitely found myself growing more plants when I came to Kentucky during COVID because I didn't know what else to do. And people also change. Like my mom is a nurse, and I remember her sending me care package with an oil that I should use for my nose so it will like help with my breathing. And forget about the medicine. It was more like natural stuff. Or teas that I should drink. But yeah, at least I am better because of that. I feel like after that little scared, I realized how important it is to have your own knowledge and to grow your own medicine. And being in Kentucky is a different culture for me. Like I like Yani, I have new eyes. Maybe I didn't realize when I was back home all these weeds that are so amazing, but Lorena definitely woken up on me like that's plantain. That's really good for the skin. And now I see plantain everywhere in my yard. And it's like I have spots that nobody's allowed to go in there because I need my plantain. But it is definitely different for culture in Latin America. But I also love that there's so many cultures here, not only from Kentucky. I met Mexicans, I met people from Honduras, Colombia. So everybody is here in Kentucky talking about Kentucky medicine, but also from other places in Latin America. And it's just been very rich for me to learn all that from them.
Yeah, that diversity is definitely a strength.
Mhm.
Yanni, could you talk about changes you've witnessed or unique things you've seen in Kentucky?
Yeah, I just want to echo something that Linelle said, just that diversity, that richness that we have in Kentucky of all these people from all over the world, and everybody has something beautiful to contribute, and everybody has something to teach. Everybody, and so I just love that aspect of living here in Kentucky. And I was reminded because I see a plant that Linnell has behind her, a fig, right? You have a fig
Yeah.
right there, and so just a quick story. So my grandfather, he immigrated to Appalachia about 100 years ago to work in the coal mines, and when he came, he brought a fig cutting in his shoe, in his boot. And so we have cuttings from that. We have fig trees that were born from that. And so I always thought, oh, figs, they're delicious and nutritious and really pretty. Well, I learned from a friend of mine who's Ecuadorian that that's also the leaves of the fig tree make a good tea for women. And so, I never knew that, and I never would have known that. But it's just amazing to see and learn from all these different cultures that we have around us. Um, I would also just echo what Linelle was saying about, seeing the changes in my lifetime too, where it's like, oh, going to the doctor, go to the doctor, go to the doctor, for these ailments and if you're sick and whatnot. And it seems like there's just this resurgence of people wanting to get back to the, natural healing traditions, this resurgence of elderberry, the elderberry syrup revolution, it's like, it's really great. Uh, Antiviral, it's really good for your immune system. Um, and so, you see people getting back into that and I love it. And, I want to also be part of, teaching people about all these things and empowering, that's what it really is. It's empowering people to kind of, take more charge of their nutrition, take more charge of how they're, you know, becoming healthy in their lives. Um, it's just interesting too, seeing like the kind of morphing into modern techniques too, whereas we can make these teas or tinctures and put them in like a gummy or something like that. um, it's something that I feel like is evolved over the years and whatnot. Uh, Glycerin is another thing. That's like a sweet kind of non-alcoholic substance. I think, you can derive it from many different things. I use a flaxseed glycerin that has a similar extractive property to plants. That I feel like is also, something that's changed over the years. Instead of using alcohol, you can use glycerin. So those are the things that come to mind um, for me. Um,
That's great. So the next question is about what you all are thinking about doing in the future with this knowledge. And we just got a question in the chat that I just wanted to read that kind of connects with that. So Camille Maria Costa of the Kentucky Folklife Program says, thank you for and congratulations for the amazing work you do. She thinks it's beautiful about folk medicine and tradition and its ability to act like a time machine, connecting you with generations past and keeping you grounded in your own family tree in a sense. So her question is, what do you hope to pass on to the next generations with your work? And do you have any tips, tricks, or advice?
I guess that I hope that I can inspire other people as Lorena and others have to me and awaken that spark on me and just realize how important plants are in general, but also all the things that can bring you other than food. They can get you cure or get you really close there. Um, I just want people not to get overwhelmed. Just know one plant and get really good at that one plant and all the things you can do with one plant. And that will make you a herbalist. Like that will make you a good person and share that knowledge with others. And then you don't have to know all the plants. I still think like Yani, I don't know anything. I'm just learning. And I'm no expert and I let people know right away. I'm no expert. I just have knowledge in different things and I'm still learning. And yeah, don't like I feel like that's why I like the people I surround myself with because to them in my eyes they are not like telling me I am the best and I this is the way. They're telling me their story, they're telling me how they did it, and then you're sharing to me hoping that I will take it and also share it again. So just go to those places. I put myself in those situations thanks to Miranda. Herb circles, herb meetings, heat swaps in Lexington. Get yourself more involved in the community and you will be surprised the type of people you meet in those scenarios. And yeah, just get out of a shell of thinking that you don't know anything because that's probably not true. You may know a few things. And yeah, just don't get overwhelmed, learn a few things and then share them. And you're doing good because you're here today doing this webinar. So you are already getting inspired to do something with herbs. So I think that's the win.
It's very inspiring too. I'm like, let's go. I'm ready to get out in the garden right now. Too bad it's frozen. Um, yeah, I couldn't agree more. I would love to teach, and I have taught a lot of people about gardening, and I want to share all the knowledge that I have. I want to share all the best things that I have learned over the years. That's certainly a big goal for me. I've taught classes. I taught an urban agriculture and community development class at Bellarmine University for a couple years. When I was working at the University of Louisville, we had a sustainable garden behind our building, and we so any student that would listen, I would give them a tour and I would get them involved in planting things, and started raised bed gardens all over the city of Louisville, at libraries and different shelters and whatnot. So I feel like it's so empowering to give people the knowledge of learning how to grow things and learning how to use them for their own health and wellness. It's priceless and it's fun. And like I said, it's empowering. So that's something I definitely want to do with as many people as possible. Certainly had a vision of doing like a children's book, for foraging, but definitely want to make more videos, teaching people about the different plants, things like that, especially the kids. That's something I've tried to do with my own children, as they've grown up, is teaching them about the different plants. One of the most fun things, my kids are, late teens at this point, but when they were little, we would have the garden, and then I would tell them what plants they could eat just raw. They could go and just grab a leaf and eat them. And so they would the kale, that was their favorite, was the kale, which, didn't really make sense to me because, but hey, raw kale, great. It's good. Um, anyway, as far as goals and whatnot, I do have a small business called Kentucky Soul Botanicals, and so I do, it's in the beginning stages, but I do sell my herbal remedies for health and wellness. I have a website, KentuckySoulBotanicals.com, and then I do different markets and whatnot locally, and I love doing the markets because it's really outreach. You get to meet so many different people and you get to talk to people about it and share stories. You have a lot of people that come up wanting to share, oh, well, my granny talked about that, and my granny used that and whatnot. So it's just great to connect with people, because this is something we all share. Food, something we all need. It's a universal thing, and that's something we all have in common.
Right on. And so we've touched on a few times about how apprenticeships are about the art of everyday life, and what you all practice is an art form that you're carrying on, you're learning, you're sharing. And I wanted to ask, Kentucky has a strong cabinet for health and family services, and as well as a Department of Agriculture. And yet your apprenticeships are supported by the Kentucky Arts Council. So how do you think your apprenticeship connects with the arts and traditional arts? And then also wanted to add in a question that we got from our chat from one of the audience. Do you sense yourselves as the art? Is the question. Can you share your thoughts on that?
I guess for me, it was also a question that we had, like, how do we put herbalism as art? Does everybody know that it's art? But if you think about it, art is an expression of, and it shows creativity, and that's what we do. And we also get inspired with the work that we do. I can tell you all the short videos I have in my social media saved of things that I've seen herbalists do that I want to do myself. And from one ingredient of one herb, you can make so many things in different forms with different colors. It can make salve, it can be hard, it can be salt mixed with herbs, it can be liquid, it can be oil. So for me, it is many ingredients getting mixed, and it will create art, and it will create more. And the fact that will motivate others and be good for the eye, that makes you think, oh, it has to be art, and it does have beauty on it, and the traditions don't lie. Like, people keep trying the same thing just to see that end product. So for me, it is very artistic. When myself, I thought I was not that artistic. And then sometimes I create something and I show it to friends and they're like, oh my God, it looks so good. But for me, it's just like, it's just some lip balm, you know. But that reaction that I get, I was like, oh, okay, I guess that is cool. So getting that reaction from people is also really inspiring, and it's like really artsy for me. And yeah, I'm happy that I get to try it. And sometimes it doesn't go well, but then you learn from your mistakes and then you do it better again. Um, so yeah, I guess I do call myself an artist now because of what I've learned, especially through this process of this apprenticeship that we did apply for an arts, and we're doing herbs, but it worked out in the end, and I'm really happy about it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I couldn't agree. Oh, sorry. Uh, yeah, I couldn't agree more. I would liken it to, the culinary arts. I guess you would call it similar in the same kind of realm, because we're taking plants, we're taking some things that are food and turning them into something else, and that's kind of what art is. Making something new out of these other elements. Um, and it's such a beautiful process, and something that I've learned a lot here over the last 6 months, just working with new plants that I'd never worked with before. Just the beautiful colors that come out of these plants. Um, I just wasn't aware, that these colors existed, in these plants. And there's one plant that I discovered on one of those walks I was talking about, where I'm seeing with these new eyes, the landscape, and then, oh, I see this clump of flowers, kind of daisy-like flowers, that are yellow and white, and discover that is a St. John's wort plant. And so, I cut some of the flowers, and then, was reading about it in some of my books that I had, and decided to make an oil. And I used a clear oil liquid, and then I put the flowers in it, and all of a sudden the oil turned this beautiful, like gem, like red color, like a ruby red color. And it was just, I don't know, it's just so miraculous and so unexpected, because here it is, this plant that's green, yellow, and white, creating this red, this deep red color, and that's one of the substances, one of the um, medicinal substances in it. Hypericum is what's called. And so anyway, and then you can mix that with other plants. You have like a calendula flower that's makes this beautiful golden oil. Arnica is also that. So anyway, and then you make these mixes like Linelle was saying, and it's just this beautiful process where you're creating this, kind of like a potion that's going to be healing to the skin or healing internally. Um, and it's a beautiful process, and much like much like painting or sculpting or music, you are uh, you're improvising, you're experimenting with different ways to do it, and so the results may be different each experiment, but when you are kind of taking notes and keeping track of the results, then you can see what's going to work the best. So I definitely consider this an art form, and it's a beautiful art form. I really love it.
Thank you, Yani. One of the questions from our chat is uh, a person from Garrett County saying, we used to have an herb group in Garrett County, but it is no longer. Where could I find a list of groups in central Kentucky? Do you all have any thoughts on that?
Lexington, we have we started a herb circle. I'll say in my case, I recommend Casa de la Cultura of Kentucky. If you follow us on social media, you'll see our flyers whenever we have a circle of herbs. And we talk about it like in every way, just herbs in general, how to start them, plants. The first one we did seed swap and plant swap and start the conversation. That was October. And we created um, curriculum that we want to teach around it. So you can see all the workshops we're gonna have, like garden planning, garden planting, and all those things. We won an award by Grow Appalachia, and we're gonna have a garden grant. So if you're interested, follow us on social media. There's an application. If you just want to come in whenever we have an event, that is totally fine too. I particularly, as I work at Kentucky State University, I'm trying to create also my own movement towards herbs. So I've been growing herbs at the farm at Kentucky State University to give it a try last year, and it went great. I tried a lot of products, and I'm hoping this year to double the size so I can actually invite people to Kentucky State University, our farm in Frankfurt, and just talk about herbs, do live tinctures if we can, or oil-based tincture mixes, salves. So yeah, just keep an eye on KSU and also Casa de la Cultura. That's as big as my realm goes.
Oh, that's great. I want to be, yeah, I want to come. I want to go to that.
Cool.
I also have to add that I was at some sort of gathering at the Josephine Sculpture Park, and I met a person who's kind of like part of this herbalist kind of community, but in Kentucky. I guess it's many different herbalists in Kentucky. So I have an email address that I can put in the chat if that would be helpful. Is that okay, Mark?
Yes, please.
Okay, yeah. So it's our herbalism community at googlegroups.com. So I'll put that in the chat so people can
Okay, and Linelle and Yani, any links that you all want to share, if you want to add them to the chat. This conversation will be on YouTube later, and I'll add all those links to our YouTube description as well. So any folks watching who want to visit those links later on can find them there. Another question from our chat is, do you all know much about the lichen, Lichen? I understand that Kingdom Come State Park has thousands of varieties of lichen to its unique location, this person says.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
No, I don't know anything about it. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So my mentor is kind of an expert in the lichens, and Usnea specifically is something that he uses a lot. Usnea is kind of like, it's like almost like a hairy kind of lichen. It looks kind of green and hairy. I found it on our farm in Mercer County as well, but certainly I would say probably more prevalent in Eastern Kentucky just because of the conditions and the wetness. There's another thing. Rock tripe is another lichen that exists there in Eastern Kentucky. There's medicinal value to that. Lungwort is another lichen, but that grows specifically in like certain types of hemlock trees. I would say the Usnea lichen is the one that is probably the most ubiquitous, prevalent, just exists in many places. And that's a really strong antiviral herb. So I like to look for that when I go out, foraging and whatnot.
Sounds great. Well, let's get to our final question now as we wrap up here. What do you all want other Kentuckians and people outside of your community to understand about your tradition? And how can we learn more about your folk art form and support what you do?
I just want people to know, hopefully by the end of this and the future, that if you want to try it yourself, it's not that hard, and it's okay if you mess it up. And it's still okay to look at books. I still have a ton of books that I'm halfway there or not even started. I have a pile. Just make sure that when you find your information is like an actual legit source, is not somebody saying lies, because that tends to happen a lot and then things don't go well. And also that herbalism should be respected, and is really important. And it is okay, like I mentioned before, just to know one or two herbs. Just first get really good at those 2, 3 herbs. And if everybody can experience this after, I mean, you experience it and then you share your experience with others, and others will come. And then you may be able to create your own little circle of herbs of people that you can share your thoughts with, and just lead for this tradition to not end. Just keep going, and it will be like a circle back. I started on Instagram for this little herbal journey myself. I should be more active, but as many things in life, social media sometimes gets away. But I share my herbs experience and my agriculture experience, and I have 2 dogs, so you might see a lot of dogs on my stories. But it's called Yerba Buena Botanicals, which Yerba Buena means good herb. Um, and it's been grown in Puerto Rico a lot. And yeah, I will share my Instagram. I also share there all the events that I will find. There is a small little community in Kentucky of herbs, and among the oaks is a herb brand, and they have a yearly festival called Goldenrod. And I went there last year, and I had a table with KSU information, and it was really awesome to meet all this herbalist and meet people there with the same interest, and people that have way more knowledge than me, and sit down, have a class or a workshop. That was really awesome. But yeah, I eventually hope to have my own brand of herbs, at least teas. And as an extension associate at KSU, I plan to publish like fact sheets and blogs. And I'm also part of the Casa de Cultura, so we will see a lot of publications and pictures and events there about herbs that you can find out.
It's exciting.
Go ahead, Johnny.
Yeah, that's exciting. I'm excited for you, Linelle. It's really cool to and inspiring to hear you talk about all those things, and I'm like I said, ready to go, ready to go.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would echo what Linelle said about, it being easier than you might think to garden, to grow plants, but also to find herbs and use herbs. I really like the thing that she said about, just starting with one or two, and becoming really familiar with and comfortable with using them. Mint is such a really lovely, delicious and ubiquitous herb. It's mint. There's mint, and it's easy to grow too. That could be a good one. Um, but yeah, I think I really love the universal aspect of gardening and food and plants and herbal healing. It's something that we all share, like what we were talking about earlier. Um, I kind of have this Greek Appalachian flavor to my um, background and whatnot, but I'm learning new things about herbs and gardening all the time, and I love sharing that. Um, I too have a Facebook and uh, Instagram page, and I too should be posting a lot more. And that's certainly one of the goals I have for this year. Especially once the springtime comes around, I wanna be posting and sharing lots of things that I'm learning. It's Kentucky Soul Botanicals is the social media handle, and KentuckySoulBotanicals.com is my website. Um, and I have, I was given a 3-acre farm, 3.5-acre farm out in Mercer County by my father. And so I've started planting that as like an apothecary garden. Everything that I'm planting out there, all the trees, all the bushes, all the plants are going to be edible or medicinal. And so going to grow mushrooms. And anyway, really excited about that and going to be documenting that on social media and teaching people about different plants and herbs as that progresses. So I'm really excited about that. And gosh, I just love connecting with people, wherever they are, whether it's out in public or online. I feel like there's just, we have so much to share with each other, and we have so much in common. And I just really want to focus on those things, these common universal things that we all share, because I think that's what's really going to make the world better.
Awesome. Thank you both for sharing, ways that we can learn more and also to connect with you. One person shared in our chat, that you had mentioned our herbalism community listserv, and they also have a group called Kentucky Herbal Alliance, which is a Facebook page. So it's facebook.com/Kentucky Herbal Alliance, if you'd like to check that out. Also, we got another great comment. Thank you for reminding me again of nature's folk art, this person says. So I'll echo that sentiment as we wind up here. Thank you both so much for sharing your experiences with us. I want to congratulate you both for your excellent work and also of your mentors, for immersing yourselves in these cultural traditions that that will affect you and your communities and all of us as Kentuckians in the long run. I want to remind everyone that the Folk Arts Apprenticeship application is now open. So if you're thinking of doing your own mentor apprenticeship project, you can find out more online at artscouncil.ky.gov. Look for Folk and Traditional Arts Apprenticeship. The application is open now through March the 30th. Again, thanks to the National Endowment for the Arts and South Arts in these mountains for supporting Kentucky Folk Arts Apprenticeships. There are going to be more Creative Industry Summit series, online presentations coming soon, and you can also learn about those at artscouncil.ky.gov and sign up for our email newsletter called Arts E-News. Chris, did you have anything you wanted to say before we close?
Just thanks again for an enlightening conversation. This is great. Great to see how the apprenticeships are working and the knowledge that's being shared and transferred on. And wonderful audience and great participation today. Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Linelle.
Thank you. See ya.